Simple Cyber Defense weekly updates for August 6, 2021. Welcome back to the Simple Cyber Defense podcast. This week we have some interesting topics with the mobiles. We're going to be talking about the Pegasus malware that's going around and some facial recognition bypasses and also a deeper dive into two-factor authentication. My name is Carl. I'm joined with...
Hi, my name is Ahmad.
And here we go to begin. So you want to start with the facial one, or you want to get into the Pegasus?
But let's get into Pegasus and then we'll jump
Pegasus? Okay, yeah, because it's a very interesting piece of malware that's been going around. So, interesting enough, the Pegasus malware was first discovered in 2016. Now, it started with spear phishing text messages. What spear phishing text messages mean is it's a text message that's crafted personally for you. So say you're a businessman who's traveling different places. What that text message will be is most likely look like a potential client trying to reach out to you for the question or something, and then have a link on there. You click on the link, it downloads the malware onto your phone. Well, Apple discovered this flaw back around just shortly after it was discovered and patched that ability. But the hackers, or the NSO group who was responsible for that exploit, actually smartened up and created exploited another vulnerability, which was called a zero-click attack. Basically, all they had to do was just send you the message, and it automatically downloaded the malware. So you didn't even have to open it, look at it, click on anything. As soon as that text message hit your phone, boom, you were infected. And a lot of these phones had the attention on the iPhones, but Android was also affected too. So it didn't matter if you had an iPhone or Android. If you got that text message with that particularly crafted zero-day or zero-click, you were infected no matter what, even if you just received it. A lot of attention was around the iMessage and WhatsApp apps. Those were two messaging apps that were responsible mainly for these zero-click attacks because they're very popular, and it was just so easy just to send a message to either one of these platforms and boom, you got infected. The WhatsApp was mostly targeted for the Android side, and the iMessage was mainly just for the iPhones. And another interesting way that they could have gotten the malware onto your computer is if they manually created a kind of like a hotspot kind of thing. So as soon as your device wirelessly connected to it, it's like, oh, I got free Wi-Fi in this area. So you connect to that Wi-Fi antenna, they would download the malware onto your phone. It mostly took advantage of the Apple's iMessage or it's like the sorry, I'm drawing a blank. The last week's bug with the Wi-Fi issues. And once they had that malware on there, they had full, complete control over your phone. And what they can do then is copy any data that's on your phone. Your contact lists, emails, your text messages, who you phoned, everything that's on your phone. They could copy it and use it for whatever purposes. Now, this NSO group is, I believe, an Israeli company. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they claimed that they only sold to government entities, but somehow most of the people who were targeted were either humanitarian groups or journalists. And let's face it, the governments aren't really the best people to keep things secret. Let's just look at what happened with the CIA and the Eternal Blue uh, malware that or backdoor that they had. Eventually, attackers got a hold of the Eternal Blue and turned it into what was known as the WannaCry ransomware. And now we are still dealing with ransomware now. And if it wasn't for that Eternal Blue, the attackers wouldn't really have that way to get in there to begin with. So who knows if these malware or these backdoors or the exploits that this NSA group is selling to governments, if they ever were given to attackers, or if hackers even were able to, say, get into a government website or database or wherever they're storing these and steal them for themselves and then use it against anybody. Because these exploits happens on any phone out there. And many Androids are never going to see the latest updates. So even if they were able to patch these up on Android, many of them won't even get the latest updates because they're so far beyond their end of life, but people still use them because they can't afford anything else. And the same with the iPhones is a lot of people aren't going to get the latest updates either. Some people are even still on iOS 12 when iOS 14 is the newest one right now. And with the example of the spear phishing text message moving to the zero click, that shows you that this NSA group has a stockpile of different exploits to use for these messages. So when Apple patched one up, they just used another one. So how many more they have, we don't know. They could have 10 more, 20 more, 100 more. That's just sitting and waiting. Okay, this exploit got patched. Let's move on to this one. Boom. We got your iPhone again. So this is a very dangerous thing. I think the really the only way to protect yourself against this is just to be very careful around your text messages. And as soon as you see an update, try to get that update to your phone. And if your phone can't take that update, probably consider getting to another phone if you can. If you have a really old Android that's sitting on very old firmware, you just might have to save up and get a newer, cheaper Android device. But the thing is, you got to be very careful. Also, be careful what you store on your phone. Because this day and age, with everything being so interconnected with each other, you may say, oh, it's safe on my phone. But if one of these exploits get on there, for how long will it stay on your phone? We don't know. So is there any questions you have, Omar? Or Ahmed? Sorry.
No,
Mhm.
no. I just have a comment about this is one of the things that has been discussed a lot about Pegasus is that we refer to it as malware, even though it doesn't really fit the bill because this is a government sanctioned program and it's a legitimate program, right?
Yeah,
That is being marketed and is being marketed to regimes that are known to be oppressive.
yeah,
Um, now, whether you're for or against selling it to oppressive regimes, but just the fact that there is something out there and just that dangerous. Just because I can manufacture nuclear weapons, it doesn't mean I should do it. It doesn't mean I'm
hmm
able to do it. It doesn't mean I have the government is allowing me to do it. So this is regulation that is needed. Yet you got other states or other countries that are, they're spending a lot of money on research and they're actually subsidizing that type of research, you know,
Yeah.
and without any care which hands that type of program falls in the hands of.
Yes.
So that's kind of, because before when you refer to malware, you refer to a program that, that got on your computer, and some small group somewhere did it to bother you or cause DOS attacks or to steal
Hmm.
your information or put a backdoor or whatever. But it's kind of like this one is not one of those. It's just a
Yeah.
program that big companies buy or has big customers.
Yeah. The
Now,
way. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead. Yeah, I was done with that.
I was gonna say these are more. The way I would class this is more like a vulnerability that's being exploited more than malware itself, because what malware usually does is alter the the
Right.
device the way
Right.
it normally functions. But the way this
Right.
is, it's exploiting vulnerabilities in the software to
Yeah.
bypass security. So that's not really what malware does. It's more
Yeah.
vulnerability being exploited.
Right. Right. Which is a good segue to our next topic here,
Topic, yep.
which is master faces. And also, it's another Israeli company that is doing this research, and they found they created this algorithm that can bypass over 40% of facial recognition and authentication, facial ID authentication systems. Um, and they developed what is called a neural network that's capable of generating master faces. These are just like facial images that are each capable of impersonating multiple IDs. So with one of those faces, I can unlock multiple devices. Um, they're saying that using only 9 faces of the faces that are generated by that algorithm, they're able to unlock 40 to 60% of the population. That's with 9 generated faces. Now, the way it works is there is an algorithm that it's a paper that was written, and the way it works is they collect the facial recognition data, and then
Hmm.
it goes into an optimizer algorithm. The optimizer algorithm goes and creates another face with that data using there's 3 different companies that work with the facial recognition, which is DLib, FaceNet, and SphereFace. And then what happens is it'll go through a face generator, and then it will create a log through a function, a face descriptor. Then it will take that face descriptor, a function of that face descriptor, and a function of another face, and generate another algorithm, put it in the optimizer, and then generate another face. Keep doing this in what's called a neural network. What a neural network is it's a computing system with interconnected nodes that work like imagine like the neurons in your brain, and these nodes are like those neurons in your brain, and that imagine like that algorithm going into a layer of neurons that's called that the input, and I have the output on the outside. In the middle, there is a hidden layer between the input and the output layer, and that hidden layer is a continuous inflow of the logs and the data that's coming in. So it's artificial intelligence where it's teaching itself. And this is the next step of artificial intelligence is how can I take those logs to teach myself how can I be better? And it came to the point where now with only 9 master faces, literally master keys, they can unlock 40 to 60% of the population. Now they can convert those into data and unlock any device. And now that takes us to the next ethical point. I didn't put any malware on your device. I just have figured out the ability to how to unlock the device. Does that make me the bad guy?
I would still say yes because you're breaking into the device.
So
You're gaining unauthorized access.
right. And this is it's just the evolution of technology, right?
Yeah.
Initially, you know, when the internet was first invented, there was just like two computers connected to one another with a hard wire. You didn't need a username, you didn't need a password. All you need to know is the name of the other computer was.
Yep. And
It's
where the
evolved
files
now.
are stored.
Exactly. And you know, it's kind of like what passwords came after that. Okay, so now we all get online. We all now it's not just two computers; it's millions of computers on millions of networks, and we all need to get somewhere and get something. So now I need to access my email. I need to access my banking information, etc. User ID alone is not enough. I need a user ID and a secret way to get in, which is password. Well, back when things were simpler, passwords were okay, but historically they have been bad for many reasons. We, as human beings, we have lousy memory, right? We can't remember anything. And there is a recent report that looked at over 1.4 billion stolen passwords, and they found that most of them were something simple like 11111 or 1234556 or I love you or password or whatever.
Or QWERTY.
Exactly. Or password with a zero, right?
Yeah.
That's very smart, right? The second thing is we as users just have too many accounts. And when we have too many accounts, we use the same password for many accounts.
Yeah.
And when that happens, well, guess what? I get in. Well, let's say passwords are excellent and you're doing everything that you can to protect your passwords. And, you know, you can refer to our previous podcast about how to choose a password. But what if somebody has access to your password? Doesn't matter how good it is.
Like a data breach.
Huh?
Like a data breach.
Like a data breach, right? Something that you have no control over. Okay. Why would there be a data breach? Because just like you have bad passwords, so does the system admin on the other side in the website that's storing your information. It's human error, right? Or they could have fallen under, an attack, right? So that's when the next thing came out, which is two-factor authentication. Okay, and thinking about two-factor authentication, I honestly think there should be multiple factor authentication, which there exists for high security, but I think that should be the standard. It should be the standard multi-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication, it just adds another layer. And as we talked about before, that security is more about how many layers can I add between myself and the threat actor, right? So what is two-factor authentication that came to the rescue? Well, it is simply another way or two different steps for you to get into a network or to get into the data that you need to gain access to. So it has to be one of those two of those three things. Something like a password, like a PIN number, like an answer to a secret question that only you know the answer to, like your mother's maiden name, and of course you're not going to use your real mother's maiden name, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then the second thing is something you have, like a token or a smartphone, an authenticator app.
Smartphones.
Yeah, it's a great app, right? That's the second thing. And the third thing is something you are. And that could be like the biometrics. It could be your fingerprint, it can be your iris, it can be your voice, all that stuff.
Or even your face.
Exactly.
Which we talked about, it's not good because they can bypass that.
Exactly. But now imagine this. With two-factor authentication, if it's something I am and something I know, and they have access, now they can bypass my face, right? And that's something I am. And now it's something I know, they were able to get my password. That's why I say two-factor authentication right now is not enough. You need a multi-factor. Yeah. So I hope that kind of, gives a little bit of a solution to how we can protect ourselves and our digital well-being and how to stay anonymous and private online. Do you have anything to add, Carl?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this week. You can always look at the links down in the show notes below if you want to go expand into the topics that we talked about. Everything we talked about will be linked below in our notes. And this concludes this week, and we hope to see you next week for another episode, and goodbye. If you like what was in this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing with others. For more information, to suggest a topic, or to donate, head over to simplecyberdefense.com.